Thanks for joining us here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Molly O'Brien. This is Janice Agenteri. Did I get that?
Hi, Molly. How are you?
Perfect.
Yes.
So good. Well, we're already going, so we're just going to roll with it today. All right. Janice, thank you for joining us. You're with the Adams Library, which is located in Central Falls. It is run by a non-for-profit organization. So we're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. So wanted to talk a little bit all about the library and just a little bit about the programs that have been run. So in 2011, there was a municipal financial crisis that happened, which closed the library. But through the amazing work of volunteers, just a month later, it reopened. And so wanted to talk to you just a little bit about what that process has been like. It's many years later and still up and running. So talk to us just a little bit about what the process has been like for you as a volunteer-run library.
Well, when the library was closed by the city, the building itself was part of the Adams Trust. So the city did not own the building. So that's how it was able to be reopened. A former director, about a month or so after the closing, reached out for volunteers, and they were able to open maybe like 2 days a week and for a couple hours each day. And little by little, it has grown. Within a year, we had several fundraisers, and we were able to open the library with a paid director and actually some paid staff. And so every year we've been having fundraisers, working hard, and trying to increase our hours and our staff.
Which is incredible because now you're up to Monday through Saturday, open just as many hours as, from what I saw on the website, but open just as many hours as a lot of public libraries anyway.
Right.
More so than some.
Well, in order to belong to the Rhode Island group, we have to follow the standards, which is certain staffing and certain hours. But if it wasn't for the volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Which I think is absolutely incredible. Talk to me just a little bit about why it was important to keep this library open in the Central Falls community.
Okay. At the time of the bankruptcy, both the community center and the senior center were closed. So the library functions as a community center also, provides services with computers because many of the residents may not have internet or their own computers. So it has a lot of different services. It offers the community, the adults, the kids, every place.
I think access is so critical, and without access, I mean, it can be troubling. Talk to me just a little bit about the spirit and mindset over the past couple of years, what it's been like for you to implement different programs for the Central Falls community, be it children, families, up to seniors.
We're working hard as we get more staff. We're able to have more programs. We have children's story time. We have Maggie the dog, and the kids come to read to her. We have family movie night. We have a lot of computer help. We have a librarian who will offer resume services, helping people with resumes. There's a lot of people in looking for jobs. Also one-on-one computer help. And we're trying to also widen our services to see if we can get some of the seniors to come to the library too for their events.
What is it, on a typical day, what is it like at the library? Who comes in? Do you see families? Do you see seniors? What's a typical day at the library like? Do you feel like your services are being utilized?
Oh yes, definitely. We have a computer lab. All our computers upstairs are usually being used. The computer lab downstairs, we have a hard time keeping open because we don't have enough personnel to keep it open. We have computers in the children's room. We have the people who come in to just read the newspaper because they can't afford to get a newspaper, or to check their email. Parents coming with their children to get books. High school and junior high kids come in to use the Wi-Fi and the computers. So we're getting a wide range of people. We have books in Spanish. We have a great collection of DVDs for people.
What do you think would have happened if a group of volunteers wouldn't have stepped forward?
I would think since the other two buildings that were closed were not reopened as what they were, I would think maybe the library would not get reopened if it wasn't for the volunteers.
I mean, and that's troubling for a community who, like you say, there's people coming in, reading newspapers, checking out DVDs, using Wi-Fi, using computers. That seems pretty troubling. As we move forward, you know, it's 2017, we're approaching 2018. People are using computers, cell phones, laptops. Do you see a growing push to implement more digital devices? Or are you, like, how are you trying to be more technologically advanced in the library?
Well, we are doing the best we can to get what we can. You know, it'd be nice to be able to get more materials. We got occasional grants in order to buy equipment to do movies and like for the high school kids to shoot commercials or things like that.
Oh, that's
programs, you know. So we have that, which is good. But it's still a place for people to come. I mean, in the summer when it's hot out, in the winter when it's cold out, you know, it's just a place to go and be able to feel safe and warm or cool.
Still providing that safe space, which for many years, that's what the library has been.
Right.
Which it might not have been in 2011 if a group of volunteers hadn't stepped in, which is actually so interesting. What is the staff like for volunteers? How many volunteers would you say you have? Because I read that some of the people who opened up the library after it had closed briefly are still volunteering today.
Yes, I started a couple of months after the library opened up. I was a teacher in Central Falls, a librarian, so I kind of went back into the library. I'm now on the board also. And it's a lot of the people who had used the library are the volunteers that come in, and there's quite a few of them who are still volunteering. Like I said, if we didn't have them, we'd be kind of in trouble because we wouldn't be able to staff all the areas.
So why do you do this? But you were a librarian in Central Falls School District, and now you're doing this on the public level. Why?
Well, I grew up in Central Falls. I probably started going to that library when I was about 8 years old, so I have memories of that. And I just loved reading. I loved books, and so while I was teaching, I was able to share that interest with the kids. And now it's another way to give back to the community.
So this must be, I don't know if it's a silly question or a tough question. Do you have a favorite book, favorite few books, favorite author that you want to share with others while you're here?
No, I don't have a favorite book. I don't have a favorite color. I just have a lot of things I like, you know, that type of thing.
What are you reading now? Maybe that's a better question.
Oh, let's see. What am I reading? I'm reading too. I'm reading a book by Louise Penny. I had read the first one that we got into the library, her latest one, and now I've gone back to the beginning of the one she's written. I like things like Dan Brown, Steve Rollins, a little bit of history, a little bit of interest, you know, mixing them up together, mystery.
I like that stuff too. I'm kind of a mystery fan myself, but I do like the History Incorporated, which is, I always find it interesting too when you can find books that incorporate New England and might not even know it. You pick it up and you're like, oh, they're talking about the Newport Mansions, or oh, they're talking about Benefit Street.
Yeah, I've been doing some traveling, so I've been reading some of the books I read, like I was in Venice. Oh, this is the one that Dan Brown mentioned, you know, and in Turkey. Another book that I read, oh, this is the underground part that they were talking about. So it's, you know, it's nice to read things and then actually be there.
Do you find that when are you able to talk with kids and be able to spark a little bit interest in them in books? Are you able to pull them away from devices?
Well, I'm usually at the front desk, but hopefully that when I taught, you know, that's what I did. That was my job. And yeah, I've seen some kids, you know, become readers. I had a little preschool girl who, when she said, do you have to read any more stories? I said, yes, I have more. By the end of the year, it was, can you read that book again? And I said, well, I have others to read, so it was nice to see someone as old as 4 change their ideas about books.
That's what we want to see. We definitely want to
Yes.
see encourage and incorporate more reading, and maybe bringing away a little bit of screen time, more book time. I don't know.
Right.
All right. So before you go, I want to show this picture of what the library looked like. This was original.
This is.
I don't know how good it's going to show,
right.
but we'll show it real
All right.
quick, and then we want to talk about a fundraiser that's coming up by our friends.
All right, 1908. This is the breaking of ground for the Adams Public Library.
So
It was a donation by a private citizen who was also on the school committee, who donated the money to build the library.
That's so fun. Do you have a lot of historic pictures in the library, or are they like
Well,
in a museum or something?
We have some, this one always hangs up, so
Yeah.
that's in there. We have paintings that are donated or on loan from De Nevers, who's a famous artist, whose paintings, one of them hangs in the Vatican. So we have those in, yeah, I know, and portraits that he's done in our library, they're on loan, so,
That's amazing.
yeah, it is.
Well, and you have an opportunity to see those because there's a big fundraiser Saturday. And part of the way that you're able to stay open is through fundraising. You mentioned grants, but talk to me a little bit about tomorrow. Brews for Books, sponsored by our friends at Navigate Credit Union, which
Yes.
that's always good. So people can come have a drink or two and help support the library. Talk to
Right.
me about that.
The Brews for Books, it's going to be at the library. It's 6:30 to 10. You can drop in any time. We have beers from 8 brewers this year that have donated their beer. We have silent auctions. We will have some food and entertainment. So we need to raise money because only half of our budget is covered by the city, or a little less than half, so we have to raise the other half in order to maintain the services that we have. So every little event is important.
So if you want to go check out those pictures, maybe get a few book recommendations and try some of our local beer that Rick talked about on Wednesday from some of those amazing brewers. Go check it out. It's Saturday, again, sponsored by our friends at Navigate Credit Union, 6:30 to 10. Go stop by. Janice, thank you so much for chatting with us today. Interesting, always good to get insight on local happenings in our community. We're wrapping things up here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. Thank you so much for joining us. Kate Nagel will be here at 4 o'clock, just a few moments, to give us the second set of results for our Rhode Island benchmark poll. So hang tight. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, everyone.